solve. X squared minus 4x equals negative 5. Let's start by getting a 0 on one side of the equation, and we have x squared minus 4x plus 5 equals 0. Now we can try to factor this, but there are no pairs of factors of 5, which would be 1 and 5, whose sum is negative 4. So we'll need to use the quadratic formula. Let's start by identifying a, b, and c. A is the coefficient of the x squared term, so a will be 1. B is the coefficient of the x term, so b will be negative 4. And c is the constant term, so c will be 5. Now let's write out the quadratic formula. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. And when we substitute, we'll substitute carefully, making sure that we keep our negative signs and everything correct. The opposite of b is the opposite of negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared would be negative 4 squared, minus 4 times a is 1, times c, which is 5, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. Having done the substitution, let's simplify. The opposite of negative 4 is 4, plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared would be 16, minus 4 times 1 times 5 is 20, and all of that is over 2. Simplifying one more step, we have 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 4, that's 16 minus 20, all over 2. Now we're going to be able to simplify this just a little further, and to do that, let's separate the 4 and the 2 here, and let's write this as x equals 4 over 2, and then the plus or minus, and then we'll write this over the denominator, the square root of negative 4 over 2. This just makes it a little easier to simplify. Then x equals 4 divided by 2 is 2, plus or minus, and the square root of negative 4 we can write as 2i. That's the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 4, which is 2i over 2. 2i divided by 2 would be I, so we would have had x equals 2 plus or minus I. These would be the solutions of the equation, so we can write the solutions are 2 plus the square root of I and 2 minus, not 2 plus the square root of I, 2 plus I and 2 minus I.